So I'm like, I can understand our metabolism slowing down, but it's like my metabolism has damn near stopped.
Oh no.
And I'm doing all this, I'm trying to do all this workout. I'm trying to do all this cardio. I'm trying to increase my fruit, increase my water.
Mm-hmm.
But I was going through right now, I'm going through I'm juggling three things. But I found something in Dianetics 55. And when I came across these two little paragraphs, I said, ooh, that answers a lot. And
Hmm.
my mind shot to the supreme wisdom. I'm like, okay, she weighs other than
Wow.
her own self. I said, oh, there it is. There's the connection. There's the connection.
Wow.
So,
I can't wait.
so, so Sister Peggy, go ahead.
Don't the brothers have a problem that's similar to that? Don't the brothers have something that also says that they're uh, other than their other than themselves? I can look. I'll just look it up. I
In
thought that there
problem
was
number
something.
one, it says the uncle of W.D. Farr lived in the wilderness in North America and lived other than his own self. Now,
Okay.
that does not mean that he does not weigh other than his own self, because uh, there's some plump brothers in the nation as well, right? And I'm one of them, so I can talk. But no, all of us are once we look at it from this perspective, um, all of us, I think we can say, are weighing other than our own self.
Mhm.
But there's a whole another way of looking at it, I guess. So by Allah's grace, we want to do another marriage between the supreme wisdom and the supreme tech. So let me go ahead and yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Peggy.
Okay, so I reported to my captain the problem that I was having in my squad about all the sisters missing in action
Mm-hmm.
because they're so sick. So we're going to be doing a presentation. So if you do this and it's being recorded,
Mm-hmm. Of
I'd be able to send that out, or maybe we can look at it
course, because
along with the
I'm gonna do it and
presentation.
I'm gonna post it. But yes, ma'am. Of course,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. Because what it boils down to is this, and this is just a quick synopsis, and then we'll open up in prayer. Um, when you look at no, I'm going to open up in prayer first, and then we'll go into it. So let's open up in prayer first. Attention prayer. I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, surely I am being turned to thee, O Allah, trying to be upright. To him who originated the heavens and the earth, and I am not of the polytheist. Surely my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, and my death are all for Allah, Lord of the worlds. No associate has he, this am I commanded, and I am of those who submit. O Allah, thou art the King, there is no God but thee. Thou art my Lord, and I am thy servant. I have been greatly unjust to myself, and do confess my faults. Please, Allah, grant me protection against my faults, for none grants protection against faults but thee. Please guide me to the best of morals, for none can guide to the best of morals but thee. Please turn away from me the evil and indecent morals, for none can turn away from me the evil and indecent morals but thee. O Allah, bless Muhammad and bless the true followers of Muhammad. God bless Abraham and the true followers of Abraham. Surely thou art praised and magnified. O Allah, make Muhammad successful, make the true followers of Muhammad successful. God make Abraham successful and the true followers of Abraham successful. Surely thou art to be praised and magnified. Ameen. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted and living Christ. And I bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the Messiah in this day of judgment in which we now live. It is in their names I greet my family with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Walaikum
salam,
salam.
sir.
Okay, Sister Raynell, assalamu alaikum. How are you? You're fading in and out, Sister Raynell. Sounds like you got a rough connection there.
I'm in the hospital, so visiting friends. So
Oh,
I'll just
okay,
be on.
okay, because we're all right. You gotta let us know. All right. Sister Ania, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Praise be to Allah.
Ma'am. How is our big brother doing?
He looks great to me. All praise be to Allah.
Yeah. Praise be to Allah. Fire Tablet. Who is Fire Tablet? Fire Tablet. I know that's not your name, but looks like they're connecting to audio now. You're on mute there. Who is this Fire Tablet? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. That voice sounds familiar.
Yeah, this is Sister Sultana Arifa.
Oh, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm just trying this new tablet, so I was having issues getting the volume to work.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Glad to see that you're back. Made it back from the mother plane,
Yeah, I was gone a long time.
huh? All right.
Interesting visit.
Oh, then maybe you need to take over the and host the meeting and tell us what you've been blessed to find.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Mashallah. Assalamu to everyone.
Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Right. So just to give a quick synopsis, it's interesting that when you look at the illnesses that are described in our problem book in problem number 1, problem number 2, problem number 5, and problem number 6, those are the same illnesses that are discussed on page 65 of Dianetics book 1. Same exact illnesses. Now, here's the thought. We understand that there are weight-related illnesses, correct? Okay. So there's weight-related illnesses. But if the weight is being caused by our thinking, then those weight-related illnesses are actually thought-related illnesses, correct? And a thought-related illness is called what in the text?
Aberration.
There are aberrations.
Ingrain.
Psychosomatic.
Psychosomatic. Sister Patricia, I was about to pick on you. Psychosomatic. So this is based on, as I was going through Dianetics 55, because I see by Allah's grace, finally, I see the finish line ahead of me. I'm about to complete the basic books. So I'm doing a real crazy mad push in the next probably 30 or 60 days to finish everything and then get started on the converses. When I came across this, my mind went immediately to our supreme wisdom. And then whatever it is that, because Allah in the Holy Quran says, Allah teaches man by the pen what man knew not. So whatever it is that I find in the teachings, I have to give it to the believers so we can increase our understanding of the text, correct? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And then it also allows us to gain the ability to get some of these keys and to learn the combination so we can get into the safe that Minister Farrakhan has told us about, a safe full of riches that we lost the combination to, okay? So today we are going to look at weight. Some of us don't have to worry about weight. Some of us, weight is something we deal with every day, correct?
Yeah, if it's stressful, especially if it's stress.
It's stress. So we're going to look at weight from a different perspective. Before we get started, let me see, who have I not acknowledged? Sister Deborah. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Deborah. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Seems like I've been away forever.
That's okay. We sometimes we got to go on our excursions. We got to go on
Yes,
our
sir.
journeys. We have other missions we have to accomplish.
Yes, sir. I found my way back home. Yes, sir.
Man, praise be to Allah. So I pray and hope that this comes out correctly. If there's any errors or mistakes, please forgive me. Before we get started, does anyone have any questions, any thoughts, any cognitions, any corrections, thing they would like to share before we go down this road?
Well, first, can you turn your volume up? Mine is up as high as it'll go and I can hardly hear you.
Turn up my volume. That's strange. Can you hear me now?
It seems a little louder.
Okay, maybe I just have to speak a little bit louder. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So if no one has anything else, let's just jump right into it. To make this transition a little more smoother, okay, now I know everyone can see my screen now, right?
Yes, sir.
Why can't we lose weight? Oh boy. So here's where we begin our journey. Supreme Wisdom Lessons, page number 1. I guess there's a lot of people that want to know about the weight. There are more people coming in that have not. Before we get started, okay, before we go, let me see. I have, is that
Yes, sir.
or Vinci? How would I pronounce that?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Lukman. This is Sister Vinci Muhammad from Phoenix, Arizona.
Well, salam.
Greetings to all. I haven't been here in a long time.
Okay.
And I thank Sister Ania for continuing to keep me abreast of the meetings.
Praise be to
And I
Allah.
look forward to whatever you all have to deliver to us today.
So do I.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. And we got Sister Constance. How are you doing, Sister Constance? Can you hear us? Maybe she can't hear us. Hope you can hear us. Okay, we'll keep it moving. So in our Supreme Wisdom, it says, the following is the original rules of instruction to the laborers of Islam and the title of Muslim given by our Savior before his departure, with a footnote of a few words of explanation to lay pressure upon the minds of the many errors in the past and present, that they may see the light and walk therein, I thank you. Okay, that's page number 1. Now, the key here is laying pressure, okay? Something about pressure. So we're gonna deal with the Dianetics. We're gonna deal with the Supreme Wisdom, but we're gonna deal a little bit with some basic science, okay? We're gonna look at pressure from a mathematical standpoint, but we're gonna use pressure as a demo kit to help us gain understanding about this paragraph that opens up our Supreme Wisdom lessons and how it applies to our mind, and why is it that even though we eating salads and working out and we're walking halfway across the country, why is it that we cannot lose weight? And I'm going to use humor in this because I'm pointing at myself. So if I say some outlandish stuff, don't take it personal. I'm saying this with regards to me because I'm trying to lose some weight. Okay. But it seems like if I just look at food the wrong way, my weight increases. So we're going to look at this laying pressure on the mind. And what does this have to do with the errors in the past and in the present? Does everyone follow that so far? Kind of understand where we're going with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now for those that are new to our Zoom meetings, you can at any time ask any question that you like. Okay, that's why I do the PowerPoints. So that if you ask a question, that question can be addressed and we can still redirect ourselves back to where we were. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I can't see everyone's face, so I'm gonna say this a lot. Does that make sense? Do you understand? Okay, that's just, I'm listening for the feedback. But you can ask a question anytime you want. Just raise your hand or just say, Brother Lukman, I have a question. That's not a problem. Okay. So a quick overview. What are all the things we're gonna go over today? We're gonna look at the concept called pressure. And we're going to look at what is pressure on the mind. What exactly is that? There's a concept in Dianetics called the remedy of havingness. And then there's something called perfect duplication. And it's based on these two concepts and some other things that we're going to share that we're going to try to see if we can tie all this in together. Now, here's another thing I want us to understand, and this is for everyone, but this is specifically for those that might be new to the Zoom channel, or to the Zoom meeting. Whenever you have what's called a cognition, meaning if you're having a thought or God blesses you with an idea, we do not want you to hold on to that idea to yourself. Because the idea that Allah, that God blesses you to have, or just a brief statement that you would like to share, might be the solution to someone else's aberration. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just by everyone being on today, in the mind of some of us here, might be the solution to someone else's problem. Does everyone follow that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look at pressure. What exactly is pressure? Okay. Does anyone have an idea of what pressure is?
Force.
It's a force. Okay. What else?
Weight.
Weight. And understand this. Here's the beauty of this. By whatever answer comes to your mind is actually part of the processing. That makes any sense.
Can you say that again?
Whatever answer comes to your mind is part of the processing.
Mm.
Oh, this thing is like, meaning your response is relevant. Your response is relevant. And as we're going further into the subject matter, this is going to be kind of like processing. there's certain things you're gonna be able to identify with yourself.
Brother Luke, man, I think that's Sister Roberta.
Yep, I
needs-
got it.
Oh, she just did it. Okay.
Yeah, I got it. No problem. No problem. I gotta hope I can get back here. There we go. So one definition for the word pressure is the constraint of circumstance. Okay, so how can we look at that definition? The constraint of circumstance. What does that mean? What does that mean to us? I'll give you an example. And this is something some of us encountered when we were in college or in school. We had a 10-page paper to write and we procrastinated and it's due tomorrow. Okay. So that's a time constraint, right? You follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're under pressure to accomplish a certain goal or a certain task, and we're constrained by time. Okay. Another definition for the word pressure is the application of force to something else in direct contact with it. Okay. Does anyone else have anything they would like to share with regards to pressure?
The word that came to me was intensity or intense.
Yes, it is definitely intense. You're absolutely right on that one. Let's go a little bit further on that one. Can you elaborate more on that, Sister Sultana, as far as intensity?
Mm. Yeah, I don't have the words really.
Okay.
I can feel it, but I can't say it.
Okay. Not a problem. Give me 1 second. Okay. That's
I
right.
thought about my daughter. She's about to turn 40 years old, and she has never liked people to tell her what to do, even her parents. She never
Wow.
liked anybody to tell her what to do.
Mhm.
And I just I couldn't understand that for the longest. And so now with this, the application of force to something else in direct contact, it makes me feel like, well, I don't like people to tell me what to do either.
Mhm.
Because it's forcing me to do something.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what I got. Pressure.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a minute and look at the fact that Allah is laying pressure on the mind regarding our past errors, our errors in the past and present. So how can we apply that, perhaps?
Brother Luke, man,
Yes, ma'am.
I guess I'm grappling with the words in the sentence. I'm trying to understand the sentence. So is this, as Sister Patricia was just describing about her daughter,
Mhm.
is this like a counterforce? Is that what the sentence means, or am I on the wrong
Yes,
track with that?
yes, yes. Counter force or counter effort, right?
That's what you're meaning here?
That's what pressure is. Pressure is a counter force or a counter effort. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay.
You know, it just came to my mind. When you're trying to open a jar,
Mhm.
you have to apply you have to apply that force in the opposite direction to open it. So like when you close it, you turn it one direction, but when you need to open it, you have to apply a force in the opposite direction, which, you have to apply the right amount of pressure and force to open it, but you have to go the opposite direction. So for me, it's kind of like something when I'm under pressure or feeling intensity, it's because there's something inside of me that's resisting going that direction.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm glad you said that. Now,
That's a good one, Brother Lukeman, because that reminds me of what we talked about last week about reverse engineering.
yes, that's where my mind was
Mm.
going too, Sister Anya. Yes, ma'am. That's exactly where my mind went, because as Sister Sultana is speaking, the statement that was made by the minister comes to mind with regards to, we have a safe full of riches, but we lost the combination. And then I'm also thinking about problem number 31, I think, where it talks about the rusty locks, right? Y'all with
Mhm.
me?
Yes, sir.
So, Sister Sultana, since you brought this up, I'm gonna pick your brain for a minute. So you talked about a jar and you gotta use a force in the opposite direction, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what if it's instead of the jar, what if we use that to use that safe full of riches to represent what we need to open?
Yes.
What if that safe full of riches is our own mind?
Yes.
Now, take everything you just said, but apply it, make it applicable to our mind. How can we use that to deal with the riches, the wealth, the jewels that are in our own mind that we can't get access to?
Mm.
Can I say something?
Of course.
So I'm thinking our will,
Okay.
and we have our mind set one way, or maybe we have something in our mind to do. But if someone comes along and tells us something that tries to redirect our will to do what they want us to do, or just say something, and I could think that might be my daughter, where somebody's trying to take me off track of what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Trust me, everything you're saying is going to be relevant as we go down into this PowerPoint, because all of you are touching on points that are going to be addressed later on. So I'm glad this is the applying oil to the rusty locks. We're beginning to think on different things. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So going back to what Sister Sultana said, so that jar, if that jar has a certain amount of pressure on the inside, normally what do you have to do if you're trying to apply a counterforce to that jar to get the lid off and you can't get it off? What can you do to the jar to get the lid off? What's one thing that we normally do?
Hit the bottom of it.
We hit the bottom of it, and what else do we do normally?
We hit the top.
And what else do we
Sometimes you run hot water on it.
Oh, sometimes you gotta put it in the hot water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Maybe that's why
Oh,
sometimes
wow.
we find ourselves in hot water.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
Because we're
I saw that hitting it to me is a metaphor of us hitting ourselves, beating ourselves up. And then applying the water and pressure is an aid and assistant to release the pressure, as opposed to when you're hitting it, it's a more of a painful process, I think.
okay.
When you hit yourself, it's like you're hitting yourself, for your thoughts that are coming, you're battling between yourself with your thoughts. Like, I'm thinking that, I shouldn't be thinking that. And what, you're going back and forth in your head. That's like, to me, it's like hitting myself.
Or beating yourself up
Beating
because
yourself
you're
up.
not at a certain place.
Yes.
Yes. So I want us to look at the fact that sometimes we get put in hot water, not as a punishment, but we get put in hot water in order to show us how to release what's inside of us. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It makes sense.
Wow.
Sister Vincent,
Yes, sir.
your hand up.
Well, I know you're dealing with the terminology. So when I thought about the word pressure, I thought about, because, I deal with clothes and things like that, pressing with an iron, right?
Mhm.
And of course, with that iron, there is the heat, right? To get those wrinkles out.
Mhm.
And so again, there's a weight totally different from what my objective is, which is to smooth out this fabric, but I'm using something totally, a whole nother medium to accomplish my goal, right? So I'm not using my hand, I'm using this iron to smooth out this fabric that I want to get, those wrinkles out. And I may have to put some water in it, which makes it have that steam to give it not just the pressure, but I needed that moisture in it to soften it, right? So that's what I was thinking. And then when you had said, this language is very double-sided, I'll say, because when it says weight, well, you could spell weight W-E-I-G-H-T, or you could spell it W-A-I-T, right? And then weighty, the weight means, and I'm seeing, well, she weighs other than her own self, but weight, there's something has to do with patience.
Yes.
While I'm waiting for the answer. And I know you said, don't hold the thought, allow it to flow. The way I came at the question, at this point in time, I asked, okay, here you have this man, who we say he is the God. He asked the question of a man who went to the 4th grade, an individual. He didn't ask that question of the intellectual ones of us who were educated through this system. But he asked one of the least the question. So you have this very high intelligent individual asking the other individual these weighty questions. And it's like, wow. So so you have an interaction between these two individuals. And then the individual who was asked the question now gives it to all of those who are willing to come into a classroom to study, right? To study that which the first entity asked him. And now he's giving it to all of us, male and female. And in it is to make our brains look at something that's so simple. Why are we overweight, right? What are we holding that's causing us to be other than ourselves? And because we're in an atmosphere that is not righteous, and we're breathing in molecules that's totally adverse to our nature, so then we start putting on weight. Because why? It's not natural to be in this environment that we have been reared in, right? By people who want to kill us, right? So that's what all went through my mind, or has gone through my mind, in regards to why we don't weigh properly. That's just a part of some of the thinking, not just, and it's not just equated to us. It seems like all humans at some point, not all, some don't have the outer appearance of overweight, but when you're not wearing properly, you can't move, or you move, but it's like, Lord, you're sluggish. It's like, I'm in quicksand. I can't move. How do I get out of it? And how do I get out of it? I have to call on the man and ask him to pull me out of something that I didn't have any, I didn't put myself in it. Pull me out of it. And who do I call on? The one who has the answers, who gave the question. If he asked the question, he already knows the answer. He's just waiting to see what I'm gonna do.
Yes, ma'am. Now, what I want you to do is hold on to the thought when you mentioned him asking the question, the Most High Elijah Muhammad, and then the Most High Elijah Muhammad redirecting that question to us. Okay, when you made that statement, that, I mean, everything was relevant, but that specific thing is going to come up again. Okay, there's something in that. There's a lot of jewels in that. So thank you, Sister Vincent. Dr. Salam, I see your hand is up.
Yes, sir, beloved. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Yes, as I was just listening, and the question of weighing other than herself, that's the piece that kind of sticks to my mind, because there's another lesson that says that she knows everything about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question that I have, and I've asked, and that is, what is the she that we're referring to? Because I think we are it's not just a metaphor, but the she and we can comment on it, is a subconscious. It is the part of your being that knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
And if she weighs other than herself, and I once heard Minister Farrakhan say that the weight that we have is the weight of sin. And it is the thoughts that we hold that's very weighty on us, that's weighing us down as well, not just the physical aspect of it, but what is it that we're holding in our minds is the question that I will have in terms of the she as an identifier. Thank you.
No, thank you. And before we go any further, Dr. Salam, I'm going to ask you this question because your voice sounds familiar.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the YouTube channel where you actually break down the Arabic?
No, that is not me. That is someone else. I am familiar with that person. Yes.
Okay, so
that's not me. I know, brother. I know Dr. Salam as well. The other Dr. Salam. Yes.
Oh, okay. But the voices sound awfully similar, but okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But what you just mentioned, hold that thought. All of it's going to be relevant. All of it's going to be relevant. I remember Dr. Ava Muhammad once saying that with respect to that she, speaking about the subconscious mind, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so all of it's gonna come together.
And I am J.A. Salam. I'm one of the writers for The Final Call.
Okay, praise be to Allah. I kind of trying to think, no, I don't think we've met before. I'm trying to think of who the writer was that came to Newburgh. That might be a whole different situation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been around for a minute, but I just started writing in 2014 with the paper.
Okay, there was an event that took place here in Newburgh with not to go off on a tangent, but there was a supposed bombing that was supposedly was connected to the masjid that was here. And I remember one of the writers from The Final Call actually came to Newburgh, and we went around and he interviewed the mayor and whatnot with regards to that incident. But that's a whole nother story. Never mind.
Yes, sir.
Okay, pressure. We have the word compression. And there it is, Sister Ania, the action of a force against an opposing force. We have what's called the force or thrust exerted over a surface divided by its area. We have the stress or urgency of matters demanding attention. And finally, the burden of physical or mental distress. We're going to focus on those three at the bottom. Okay, all of those are relevant, and all those might come up during the time of our discussion. But we're going to look at specifically these three. So mathematically speaking, this is the formula. This is the mathematical representation of the concept of pressure. So pressure is equal to force that's exhibited over a surface area. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Kind of. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to touch on this mathematically very briefly, and we're going to make it applicable to what we're studying. So we're using physics as a demo kit in order to understand the relationship between Dianetic technology, which is the science of the mind, and our supreme wisdom lessons. So we have the supreme wisdom aligning with the supreme technology. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Oh. So pressure is the result of a force that is exerted on the surface area of an object. And before I go further, I have to give a shout out to my big brother. Assalamu alaikum, brother Wahid. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir.
Glad to see your smiling face there, brother.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Now, in the fire service, which is the area that I work in as a firefighter, there's pressures divided into three types. And all three types of these pressures actually can be used to understand pressure on a mental level. Because everything that we study on a physical level has a spiritual counterpart, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and I always quote these pages 48 to page 51 of A Torchlight for America. There's two key things the minister teaches us on. Number one, always put Allah at the center of what you're studying. And number two, whatever subject you're studying, make it as if you are studying an aspect of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we do is we are using physics, mathematics, and science to understand. We put Allah at the center of that study, number one. And anything that we study of mathematics, physics, and science, we are studying an aspect of ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Sir.
Okay. Now we could go further into that, but we would be here till about 5 o'clock because that is a whole nother subject in and of itself. So three types of pressure is this. You have what's called static pressure. Static pressure for what we do in the fire service, that's the pressure that's inside the fire hydrant when the fire hydrant is not being used. Okay. In the language of physics, that's called potential energy, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then when we actually hook up to the hydrant to get the water from the fire hydrant to the fire engine, that's called flow pressure. Okay. And I don't know if in your different cities, when you look at the hydrants, when you look at the top part of the hydrants, have you ever noticed that they have different colors?
Mm.
Mm-mm.
You've never noticed that.
No.
Okay. And in the cities where you have hydrants that have different, they call them bonnets. The different bonnets are different colors. Those colors allow the firefighters to know what is the pressure of that hydrant.
Makes sense.
Okay. So if I see two hydrants across the street from one another, I see one hydrant, it has a red bonnet, and I see a hydrant has a green bonnet. Depending on the size of the fire, I'm going to take the green bonnet because I know the green bonnet, the pressure is going to be way higher than the red bonnet. Okay, that's just fire service information. So you have flow pressure. Flow pressure in the language of physics is kinetic energy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So potential energy is energy of position. Kinetic energy is energy of motion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have what's called residual pressure. Residual pressure is the remaining pressure in the system after the water is flowing. Now, real briefly, let's touch on this. How do these apply to ourselves, our mind, and our thinking? If I ask, okay, how does static pressure, how does that relate to the individual? Can anyone think of anything that comes to mind? Okay, well, I'll throw this one out there. If it's the pressure of water, it could be the pressure of anything, but we're using water. When water is doing nothing. If we have a great idea, haven't you ever experienced having a great idea and you don't move on it and it keeps coming to your mind over and over and over again?
Yes.
Okay. So that idea that you're holding on to, that you're not manifesting, is like potential energy, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Biblically speaking, isn't there a story of a wise man that was going to travel on a long journey, but he gave 5 talents to one person, 3 talents to another person, and 1 talent to a person? Then he
Yes.
departed, and the one who had 5 doubled it to 10. The one who had 3 added on and made 5, and then there was the one who had 1 talent and buried it. Y'all with me?
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
so part of the pressure that we have right now as believers, and I'm saying just believers in God in general. This is all of us in the room. Part of why we're stressed out, one of the reasons is that we have been blessed based on our purpose, our reason for being here. The reason why Allah brought us into existence is that we are the conduit through whom Allah will provide great ideas and thoughts and concepts, but we are hiding our light under a bushel basket. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
We are taking what Allah has blessed us to receive. It says Allah teaches man by the pen what man knew not. But guess what? We're not bringing out what Allah has blessed us to receive to manifest our light. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So part of the pressure, part of the weight that we carry is the weight of great ideas that we're not manifesting.
Mhm.
Mhm.
All right.
Wow.
There's a speaker by the name of Les Brown. There's 2 quick points. He says it like this. He says, number one, he says, in every city, you'll find an area where you'll find some of the greatest ideas. And he asked the question, where is that area located? Does anyone know the area of every city where you'll find some of the greatest ideas? Anyone like to take a guess?
Downtown?
Mm-mm. Not downtown. He said it was the cemetery because the individual ever brought those ideas into the light.
Wow.
Mm.
And then he said,
Wow.
number 2, he said, picture yourself laying on your deathbed. And you have people walking around your bed looking at you with disdain and hatred and animosity. And he said, each one of those people that are looking at you like that are the ideas that you never manifested that you're going to take to the grave with you.
Hmm.
Does that kind of hit home for us?
Absolutely.
Is there anyone in the room that has been carrying around a great idea, but you have been dragging your feet on manifesting it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Go ahead, Sister Ania.
I was just going to bear witness to what you were saying, and that very thought has been on my mind greatly these last few weeks. Using that same parable, and I'm seeing that the person who had, just held on to that 1 talent and buried it is that's I saw that in the light of self. When we have all of these gifts that you just mentioned, Allah has blessed us with, but we won't put forth the effort, the force that is needed to bring them out and share those gifts and talents with others. So we're not multiplying or adding to the gifts as the other people did. And so Allah can't bless us if we just hold on to that gift. And as I was thinking this morning, you may be gifted with voice, but the only person who hears you is yourself when you're singing in the shower. You won't, take your place up on the stage and share your gift of voice with the world. So
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. That's exactly right. See, the gifts that we have are not for self-aggrandizement or to get everyone to look at us, but our gifts are given to us. Our talents are given to us by Allah so we can exalt the name of Allah, correct?
That's right.
I believe the minister has said that if we do the work to exalt the name of God, then God will exalt us, correct?
That's right.
But some of us try to do that thing in reverse. We try to exalt ourselves. And then you
Exactly.
have to realize that it ain't about us. That gift is a manifestation of what God has given us. And when we give that gift back, that he gives us more, correct?
That's right.
Go ahead, Sister Janetta.
So what came to mind while I'm listening to this is not only mining the pressure out of ourselves, but the pressure that exists sometimes in one who exerts a certain characteristic that when you identify a gem in another, mining that gem out of that other person, releasing that into the atmosphere so that it can also be shared. Because a lot of great ideas and talents exist in so many people around us, but sometimes the pressure to remain in the light for yourself, which is what you just spoke of, not giving glory to Allah because that's his gem that's being exhibited, but to be able to release that from within yourself and see that within others and allow that to come forth and shine as well. Because that's how we expand, that's how we grow, is by looking and mining out of others as well. And it makes our development so much broader because there's so many amazing talents and gems that sit amongst us that may not know how to come forth themselves, or the pressure that they feel of resistance from one that may be in control of being able to allow that gem to come forth. So when I look at pressure, it comes in so many different forms, in so many different ways, that was one of the things that kind of stood out to me, because I love mining the gems out of other. I like when I identify them and I see them, and you're able to bring it forth for everyone to see.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And that sounds like it's coming right out of Closing the Gap.
Yes.
I can't remember the page number. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talks about intellectual cowardice. And he talks about going into the teachings and find the jewels that Allah will show us, correct?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Praise be to Allah. Let's see. Okay. So now flow pressure is like, if we actually get busy working and we're manifesting the gift that we have, by manifesting the gift, by converting our potential energy into kinetic energy, and we're talking about on a spiritual or mental level, what's happening? The residual pressure is less than static pressure. So that tells me, just mathematically, as soon as I start, I get busy doing the work,
yes,
what is going to take place with regards to my mental pressure?
It's going to release.
It's going to release. So when you look at what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said about work, we all have that quote that he said about work.
Yes.
Okay. If you don't have it, you should definitely get it. I keep it right next to my desk. So when things start getting rough, I just turn to the right and I just start reading. If you're tired, work. If you're sick, work. No matter what's going on, just work.
That's right.
If it's just as much as just get up and just in Dianetic Tech, one of the things they teach is, find one thing in the room that you don't like and change it. After you find that one thing in the room that you didn't like, you change it. Look for just one thing in the room that you don't like, then change that. Now just find one up. So you're changing your universe on a gradient scale. All of us know, and we've had this experience, because sometimes life gets crazy and our environment gets cluttered. But it seems as though as soon as we stop and declutter our universe, aren't we at the same time decluttering our thinking in our mind? Doesn't it make us feel better by cleaning our environment?
Yes.
Okay, because the environment is just an outward manifestation of the turmoil that's going on within, correct?
That's right.
Go ahead, Sister Jeanette. I see you have your hand back up again.
Oh, I didn't, but while you were saying that, I was thinking about Dynetics when we were taking Dynetics. And sometimes when we have ideas, or we're trying to accomplish tasks, if there are multiple tasks that need to be accomplished, we can sometimes become overwhelmed. That's a pressure. And we were taught to stop one thing in motion at a time.
Yes.
And its completion, so that there's the feeling of success at the end of that, an accomplishment, which gives you the energy to move forward to your next platform.
Yes, ma'am.
And start another task instead of dabbling in one task and then jumping to another. There's never any completion, so there's no feeling of success.
Right.
So we have to stop one thing in motion at a time.
Yes, ma'am. In Buddhism, we've mentioned this before, but in Buddhism, that's called the monkey mind. Monkey mind is when you jump from one thing to another, to another, to another, and you dabble in many, many things, but then you accomplish nothing.
That's right.
That's the monkey mind. Okay. Let's see. All right, let's keep it going. So here's just an example. We're going to look at this mathematically, but then we're going to extract. In our lesson, it talks about a mathematical theology. After learning that Islam is mathematics and mathematics Islam, it stands true, correct? Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
But now the word mathematics encompasses a whole set of subtopics: algebra, calculus, trig, correct? Chemistry. Chemistry is mathematics. Chemistry is applied mathematics. Okay. So that means through the law of substitution, we could take any level of mathematics and remember that our lessons are more than just lessons. And this is based on what Minister Farrakhan has taught us. He says that Allah is a scientist who speaks in the language of formulae. So our lessons are formulae. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if our lessons are formulae, and if a formulae, a function, and an equation are all the same thing, that means if I put in an input, I should get an output, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So now, if I take problem number 13 and call that formula number 13, and instead of saying mathematics, if I say algebra, then could we not say that Islam is algebra and algebra is Islam?
That's right.
Could we say Islam is physics and physics is Islam?
That's right.
Okay, so right now what we're doing is we're looking at physics, but we're looking at a theology of physics, correct? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to increase the pressure, if you look at this from the standpoint of the formula, you have to either increase the force or you're going to decrease the surface area. To decrease the pressure, you must either decrease the force or you have to increase the surface area. Does that make sense? Yes, no? Everyone follow?
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna give a little, I'm gonna show us mathematically so we can kind of have some mass. So in other words, if I start out with 10 pounds divided by 1 inch, that's the same as saying 10 pounds per square inch. Does that make sense? If I'm saying 10 pounds over one square inch, that's 10 PSI, okay? 10 pounds per square inch. But now if I increase the force, if I say 100 pounds, that's 100 PSI, right?
Correct.
What do you think can do more damage? 100 PSI or 10 PSI?
100.
Okay, so 100 pounds per square inch will do more damage. Okay, now, if I want to decrease the pressure, then I have to decrease the force, correct?
Correct.
So again, 10 PSI, but if I decrease the force to 5, what have I done to the pressure? I've decreased the pressure. Y'all follow?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the other way I can decrease is increase the surface area. So if I increase the surface area to 5 inches, what happened to the pressure? It decreased. 10 divided by 5 equals 2, right?
Right.
Now, here's a thought. Let this circulate in your brain a little bit. If Allah is telling us on page number 1, and he says that he's laying pressure on our mind of our many errors in the past and present, that we might see the light and walk therein. And if the increase in pressure increases the weight and causes damage, what is it possibly that Allah is trying to do to us by increasing the pressure? Because Allah says in the Holy
Increase the
Quran that he
surface.
uses the trials to destroy the disbelievers, but he uses the trials to purify the believers. So if Allah is increasing the pressure on our mind, what is the benefit of that?
Increase in the square inches.
Which means we got to, go ahead, Sister Jonetta.
Increasing, to me, that's to increase the square inch, the pressure per square inch of the surface that he is trying to get us to use. So increasing our knowledge base.
Oh, there it is. So Allah, by allowing pressure to be applied to us, he's not trying to destroy us. He's trying to increase our thinking, correct?
Correct.
Does everyone follow that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now let's look at pressure with respect to the mind. So if Allah is, so this is the question, if Allah is laying pressure on the mind, then Allah is applying a counter force or counter effort on our thinking. Why is that? So here we're using what's called the law of substitution, and we're substituting the word surface area for mind. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now we could take this a step further. So when we have force applied to the mind, that's called pressure, but we could also call that stress, right?
Yes.
So
We can.
whatever stress we are under, that stress has a mathematical quality to it, meaning the stress we're engaged in is based on the amount of force that's applied to our mind, right?
That's right.
So when we have a problem that we can't seem to find a solution to, isn't that the same as an increased amount of force over a smaller surface area of thinking?
That's right. Yes.
So then is it also possible that Allah allows things to occur in our life because he wants us to increase the surface of our thinking so that what does it do? It actually diminishes the effect of the force, correct?
Yes,
It's
sir.
going to expand it. Yes.
So the more we
Yes.
expand our thinking, the more we
Yes.
study, the more knowledge, wisdom, and understanding we involve ourselves in, two
Mhm.
things are happening. We're increasing the diameter of our knowledge, as the minister says on page 48 of A Torchlight for America, but we're also decreasing the effect of the counter effort. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Allah would have us so wise that we could take the devil and wrap him around our finger and we
Mm.
know he's there.
That's right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm doing well.
So when we look at surface area, It's the total area that the surface of the object occupies. That's one definition. It means the exterior boundary of an object or a concept. So if we increase, again, this is coming from the minister's words, if we increase the diameter of our thinking, then we also increase the circumference of our activity as well as the surface area. Does everyone follow that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but let's deal with the exact quote, because we want stable data. What the minister says. He says, a while ago I coined a phrase. He who gives the diameter of your knowledge prescribes the circumference of your activity. If you gain a limited knowledge, then you restrict the possibilities of what you can and will achieve. The capacity of man's brain is infinite. Therefore, the greater one's knowledge grows, the greater becomes one's sphere of activity until it encompasses and reflects mastery of self and mastery of the universe. Now, let's go back to what the minister said in the video that we had watched a while ago. He says, it's like having a safe full of riches, but we forgot the combination, correct?
That's right.
Okay. Our mind is the safe that's full of riches. If you look at it from the perspective of Dianetics, theta, which is also called the life static, has or contains the knowledge of everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. In the religion called Taoism, they don't use the word God. They use the concept called the way. And what the way is the sum total of all information that exists. In the language of Islam, we could use the word Allah. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, in mathematics, that's called the universal set. The universal set is a set that includes all sets. So it's a very mathematical concept. Now, if the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, I believe it's page 9 of Message to the Black Man, that the first God that exists is no longer present, but his person exists in you and I, could that mean, or does that mean that contained within each and every one of us is the potentiality of gaining a knowledge of all things? Awfully quiet.
I'm listening to you, brother.
Where is everybody?
Brother Lamar, could you say that again? Just slow it down about it.
Okay.
Last minute. Okay.
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says on page 9 of Message to the Black Man that the first God that created himself from triple darkness, I'm paraphrasing it, is no longer present, but his person exists in his people today. Which means, at least to me, in my kindergarten understanding, that my life force, my theta, okay, my life static, my awareness of awareness unit. And also remember, in the tech, L. Ron Hubbard teaches that the time track is, there's one point where he says the time track is 76 trillion years long. That's not a coincidence. Anyway.
That's right.
So based on that point and what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says in Message of the Black Man, that means I contain a life force that's 76 trillion years old. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The capacity of everyone's brain on this Zoom call is infinite. Okay. But the minister says if you gain a limited knowledge, then you restrict the possibilities of what you can and will achieve. Well, the education system of this world is designed to restrict the possibilities. Why does the devil keep our people ignorant?
Yeah, illiterate. Yeah.
Or illiterate, so he can use them for a tool and also a slave. He keeps them blind to themselves so he can master them. Illiterate means ignorant. Yeah. So he has to keep us. He has to keep us asleep. But when we're taught that the God is awakening, there is a Godhead. There is a perfected one who is now awakening up all the other ones, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, and what we have to accept is by Allah's grace, we have been chosen to be a part of that awakening. Well, how do you know? Are we here because our letter passed, or are we here because someone passed our letter?
Our letter passed.
Okay, but someone had to choose that letter.
Yeah,
That's
Okay.
right.
that's right.
Brother Jabril, may Allah be pleased with him, said it like this, that all of us were handpicked. There's a reason why we're
Yeah.
all. And
Yes,
if we were chosen for our righteousness, well, none of us would be here, right?
That's right.
So the Savior picked some aberrated individuals, correct?
Come on.
Okay.
That's right.
You know,
Okay.
unless there's individuals on the call that are from the wheel, the rest of us are aberrated as hell, correct?
Come on.
But Allah
Love you.
saw past that. Allah saw past that, and the minister
Yeah.
tells us in the study guides to get rid of guilt because Allah knew who and what we were when He found us, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
And not even looking at where we are now, but look at where we were when we wrote our letter. Yeah. If you look at where we were and what we were doing when we wrote our letter, and Allah saw something in us at that point in time. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. So going based on the minister's statement right here, when he says, if you gain unlimited knowledge, then you restrict the possibilities of what you can and will achieve. One of the reasons why, and this is just my personal opinion, why did we receive the tech? Why did the minister want us to study the Dianetics? Well, if you look at a computer, when a computer is brand new, doesn't it have an optimum level of processing because the processing speed is at what you call out of box or factory reset? The processing speed is at its optimal level, right?
That's right.
But as you go forward with the computer, sometimes you might get viruses and malware, and it slows down the processing speed. And the thing about sometimes with computers, the processing speed slows down, but we don't even know why the processor is slowing down because there's things hidden in the background.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right.
There's
Come on.
programs hidden that we're not even aware of, correct?
That is right. Absolutely.
Mm.
So being that there's things hidden that we're not even aware of, we have to apply tech or software to locate and to remove the viruses, correct?
Yes. That's right.
Right.
So it's not that the teaching doesn't work because we have two examples that the teaching works. The Most
That's
High
right.
Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah.
But when you look at the fact that there has been something that we have suffered from that has interrupted our understanding of the teachings,
Oh, wow.
we had to have malware or virus detection software introduced into our
Installed. That's right. That's
to
right.
remove the
It's called
blockages.
what?
Huh?
What is called? You say introduce. It's called what?
You
You
have
said that?
what's called a virus software or malware
Oh, okay.
detection.
Yeah, well, okay.
Malware.
Go ahead.
Malware.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the tech is removing the mental viruses to our mental processor so that we can now go into our supreme wisdom lessons and not just memorize the lessons, but begin to crack the atoms within our own thinking so we can find out what is the wisdom that's recorded in each and every one of us on an individual level.
Wow.
So
I
to
know
me,
you
the tech is like malware. It's like virus software.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a tool. The minister said
It's
it
a
is a tool for us to use. And when individuals say this, when individuals say, why are we studying that information from that Caucasian man?
Mm,
My response is, oh, you mean King James in the Bible? Because the Most High
That's right.
poison book, right?
That is a poison book, yes.
Okay, and
You don't use it,
my
right?
understanding is not only was King James involved in that, but also Shakespeare was involved in that, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it's okay to study the Bible written by King James, and it's okay to study the Holy Quran, because we're told Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a white man, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. But now the minister says to study Dianetics with another white man. We have a problem with that. And then final counter argument is the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, wherever he said go, go. And wherever he said stay from, stay from. And the problem is that self-righteous individuals. Now, I'm not trying to, I'm very far from righteous, but I will say this: self-righteous individuals that want to condemn the fact that the minister put us on this study track.
Yes.
They are quick to point out, you got to look at what the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, wherever he says go, go, where he says stay from, stay from. They want to point at what the minister has pointed us to, but these same individuals won't stay from what they have been told to stay from, meaning we
That's
stay
right.
at a net and we swallow a camel, correct?
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come
Is,
on.
is all this making sense?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
20.
okay.
20, beloved.
So now if an increase in pressure causes stress, we're going to come back and address this again, then why is Allah applying pressure to our mind? When you look at the word sphere, this is the word the minister uses in Torchlight for America. An area or range over or within which someone or something acts, exists, or has influence or significance. Okay, so the word sphere has a mental application to it as well. It also means orbit. Have you noticed that every planet has its own orbit?
Yes.
And you notice there's no planet that tries to get in another planet's orbit?
Come on.
If we were to switch any planet and put it in another's orbit,
It wouldn't make
eventually
it.
the solar system would collapse. Does that make sense?
That's right. Absolutely.
Our solar system is put together like a large astronomical clock. And based on the sizes of the planets, their distances from the sun, the orbital rotations, it's a precise harmony. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
The problems that we have is individuals are trying to get into the orbits of other individuals.
Mm.
Okay. A sphere could also be a purpose. So if we increase the diameter of our knowledge, then we increase the circumference of our activity, correct?
Yes.
And then there is a verse in the Holy Quran where Allah says that we will be granted a garden, the size of which would be the heaven and the earth, correct? Y'all with me?
Yes, sir.
So on the small level, our sphere is our immediate environment. But then our sphere has to go out to 24,896 miles, correct?
Yes, sir.
7,926 miles in diameter. But then we have to increase our thinking to what's the diameter of the universe? Who knows that actual fact?
Hmm.
Is it 76 quintillion miles?
Whoa.
That's been a problem. Okay. So all this really is to lay pressure on our minds as well.
Yeah.
So living according to our purpose is the same as an increase in our surface area. So when Allah is applying pressure to us, he's not applying pressure in order to destroy us. He's getting us or forcing us To do what? To live according, I'm just saying, this is me personally. My belief is to force us into living according to our purpose. Because as we live according to our purpose, what happens to the counterforce? Doesn't it decrease?
That's
It
right.
does.
And if we're living according to our purpose, and if the force is decreasing, then doesn't our stress decrease?
Yes.
Why is it that
Yes.
the minister has no stress? Is he
Yes.
according to
Yes.
That's Bob.
Patricia Zebs.
This is
Bonnie Yerda at the Quality of Life.
Sister Janetta, I see your hand is up,
yes.
and then Sister Anya.
What do you need?
No, I see your hand is up, so.
Oh, no. I'm just listening to you. I don't know. It did go up. I think I
Okay.
never took it down. That's what it is. But listening to this, when you think about the sphere, the brain is also considered a sphere.
Yes, ma'am.
And when we are dealing with that, we're also dealing with the circumference, which embodies knowledge. And sometimes we are unable to lock those combinations in the brain to release the information that has been instilled in us. And when you say that we were all individually picked by someone, because that letter went up, and we just got a response back saying that the letter had passed. So when we think about that process, we know that if Jesus was called into existence and his job was already written, or his life was already written before he got here, what makes us think that ours wasn't? So we were already written to be in this time to perform a certain duty and a certain activity. However, under the pressures of this world, we find the greatest gems buried in the deepest of pressures. Releasing that pressure and finding that gem is what we are in the process of doing. And the more I equate the studies and all of the knowledge that we are given to study equal to that of what we do with our bodies when we're trying to develop our bodies. The more you work the muscle, the more it will expand, and the more defined it becomes. So does the brain. You will get more and more clarity through the focus of study under truth, which then pushes out the falsehood. It puts the light on that darkness. So we are working in a process of opening up the combinations to our minds, and everybody's combination is different. So we all get unlocked at a certain time, at a certain phase of study, through certain words of application that we intake as we're going through this process. So our brains are computers. We're just trying to get it up to its proper speed so that we can process and generate this information and put it back out as quickly as it's coming in. So I kind of see my mind as a computer of intaking knowledge. And sometimes the knowledge is so vast that it can become overwhelming. And then you feel the pressure and the stress now because you need to solve some of the information that's been put in so that you can refine it and put it back out. And then you feel the release of the pressure, the decrease of the stress, and now you take in more. So this, I love this. This is beautiful. This is.
Oh my.
Real quickly,
Hebrew
2 quick
language.
points.
Yes, sir.
Point number one is, if you go and watch the video Self First by Brother Jabril Muhammad, I want to say it's part 2, but watch all 3 parts. In the video series by Brother Jabril, he states about when the scientists wrote in the year 1 about the one that would come, and I'm paraphrasing. He says, what makes you think that they did not write about you? I'm just repeating what you had just said, but this is something Jabril taught on, that each one of us were a part of that writing.
Absolutely.
What makes us think that if our letters pass, aren't we not obligated to assist the minister?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why we're here?
Yes, sir.
That's number one. Number two, something that I remember the minister saying, He said one time he planted grass seed. He throw the seed out. So he threw the grass seed out at the same time. He said, but what he noticed was sometimes the grass grows in little patches. Some grows over here, some grows over here, some grows over here. He says, just because he threw all the seed at the same time doesn't mean all the seed is going to grow at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
And the same thing is with us. For some of us, as soon as we come into the teaching, we hear the word, boom, we take off. Some of us, it took us a year. Some took 5 years, some took 10. Some of us had so many weeds, aberrations, maybe those weeds, soaked up some of the nutrients that was meant for the seeds. So now we have the weed killer. So now if we're studying the text, we should flourish. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Sister Ania.
Woo.
You're on mute, Sister Ania. There you go.
Wow, this is all so powerful. I just love the energy of today's Zoom. And you're right, Sister Janetta, everyone's mind is different because Allah has placed something different in each of us. And then I definitely would want to watch that video again, from Brother Jabril. What you said there was so powerful also. I kept, as I'm listening to everybody's comments and the whole context of this, I keep going back to the original God. My mind lots of times goes to the original God because I guess I'm striving to work out in my mind what that wobble was in the beginning, because if I can work out what that wobble is and what Allah did to correct it and compensate for that, then I can get to the root of the wobble in myself, in each of us. And so as you spoke about the mathematical formula, I thought that Allah in the beginning, in the creation of himself and in the creation of the universe, whatever we're going through, he went through already. So to bring himself forth out of triple darkness, that would have been intense pressure to bring that about, to bring about the creation. And so he has worked out a lot of the mathematical formulas, and yet there was something in that whole creation that wasn't perfect as he wanted it to be perfect. Not saying that it wasn't right, but it wasn't as he wanted it to be. He saw that it could be improved upon. And so he had to come up with a mathematical formula in the beginning and set that formula in place for the perfection of his universe. So he's already worked out the formula to correct the wobble in the motion of what he created. So each one of us is a part of the mathematical formula that he set in place. That's what I was seeing. And each one of us needs to work out that part of the formula, work it out, solve it, so that we're able to go to the next part of the formula. And so then when we shut down what Allah has placed in us and we don't work our part of the formula, then it puts a wrinkle in everything. Aberration occurs, we go off course. The whole plan of Allah is taken off course. And so that counterforce has now stepped in, the Satan, the external state Satan, the internal Satan, and it takes us off course and causes us to forget our mission. Or it inserts something into the formula that doesn't belong, like a virus type of thing.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that begins shutting everything down. And we go off course. So then we're taught that Allah sends prophets into the world, right, to bring us back to that, or bring to us the correct part of the formula, to put us back on course so that we can progress to the next stage, and bringing us closer to what you just had in the PowerPoint, closer to the mastery of self and the mastery of the universe. And as we get, normally when you get closer and closer to the completion of something, for some reason, the pressure intensifies.
Yes.
And so that's where we are now. We're getting closer and closer to that part. And because Master Fard Muhammad, whom I would say that Allah in the beginning saw Master Fard Muhammad, as you just said, that that those who wrote the history, they saw Master Fard Muhammad and they saw us in that formula. So I strive or dare to say that the Allah in the beginning saw Master Fard Muhammad, and so now that he is on the scene, that pressure intensifies because of who Master Fard Muhammad is, because of his greatness. Then in order to, as you were saying, to increase that surface area, the pressure has to intensify. And so we are the ones born in this time as part of that formula, because we carry within our DNA, within our mind, that which is that part of the formula that we're able to bring the solutions. But we yet don't see that, because the aberration causes us, is so great, what we've been through with slavery and the 50,000 years, all of that of our history has caused us to totally forget our mission. And so in order for us to remember that, more pressure has to be applied to get us to remember, but not to destroy us, but because we carry that part of the formula that's necessary for this time to bring about the perfection of the universe.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you, Sister Ania.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah.
Can I add something to her, what she said?
Yeah, go ahead, Sister Janetta.
Absolutely. Thank you. While she was talking, it brought to mind for me the pressure that exists within our bodies has to be equal to the pressure outside of the body, or the body would cave in. This body was made so perfect by God that it was able to protect itself from destruction to a degree, unless we lose our ability to utilize our processes that he has put in us. So with the aberrations, when things happen that are overwhelming for us, this body will shut down. This brain will shut down to cut off all stimulants that goes to other body structures that could be damaged as a result of overwhelming pressure or pain. And so the body is able to recuperate, but that doesn't make the incident go away. So that aberration exists once we come back conscious from the mind protecting us from a force that came against us that could have probably ended this entity. So when she was speaking of that, that's what was running through my head. He made us so perfect that this body can almost be indestructible if it is in its proper working order, and providing that whatever the incident is that occurs isn't something that the body is just not able to come back from. But the ability to be able to utilize our processes to where this mind will shut down to save the entity is an amazing thing within itself. But the damage still exists. So then there are tools that that he gave us through Dianetics to be able to pull that positive energy off of those aberrations that exist.
Yes.
So that we could heal, and it's not like we forget, but it has no force and power over us. And that's what all the learning tools that we have, all of the knowledge and wealth of information that has been given to us, if we upload and regenerate this computer system, we can surpass that and get back to a place of normalcy, which is what the minister's goal is for us. It's a healing tool
Yes.
for us so that we can move forward.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
Sister Denise, I see your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Oh, I'm so glad. The sister, after we finished with the performance that we did this past weekend, brother joined the Ministry of Arts and Culture. And so he said, because it took us a while to get to where we are now we need to increase the speed. And I'm looking at him like, do you know what we had to go through? It's like, yeah, but when you do it repetitiously over and over again, what happens? I said it does become easy, because the weight you can handle, because the increase in the pressure. So the pressure is balanced off. It reminds me of that roller coaster, not the roller coaster, the merry-go-round, and somebody's pushing it, and it's going faster and faster and faster, and then all of a sudden it has a wobble, but it becomes equal with the weight that's on it. It can carry it more, when you increase it. And the sister sent me a text and say the word for the week is work. W-R, every letter is captured. She said that's the word for the week, work. And then she quoted the messenger and what he said: when you tired, work. When you sick, work. When you depressed, work. And I said, okay, that's the solution. So I got up and I started moving, and it looked like things got lighter, once you got up and you start moving, and we don't know that things, as we move, things are being moved out of our way.
Yes.
As we move, it's like a fan. You put it on just 3 speed, but when you get on 6 speed, okay, something's gonna move, because the force is there. So I'm just listening to everybody talk about why, and the minister said nothing bothers me. Yeah. He's not bothered by anything. And I was like, well, how you get to that? Nothing bothers you. Hey, what kind of speed he's on? Where is his universe? I mean, what's the axis it's turning on? And the speed that it's going. That anything gets on it, it throws it off. When it's really speeding around, it throws it off. It can't attach itself to us to wear us down, because it kicked it right. And I was just thinking about that as you were talking, because when he said once a month, I was like, is he serious? I said, wait a minute. This must be one of those mathematical formulas that Brother Lukeman always talk about. Hold on, let me hear what you're saying. And then I said, yeah, because if you slow it down, you don't have a lot of people to work with. You have a composer that can play the piano, but he plays music. So you can work with one person. I said, we can do that once a month with one person. Just find the gifts and talent and let's work on that and produce that. I said, whoa. It was such and you all talking about it, and when she said that, the word of the week is work. And then she quoted what the messenger said. And I said, she is definitely right. I thanked her. So thank you, Brother Lukeman. All the people, believers is on this line. I thank you. So would you say work out your own salvation?
That's right.
Because nobody's gonna work it for you. This
That's right.
belongs to
That's
you.
right. That's right.
I said, oh, you know, because I felt a little something, and I was wondering why was that weight weighing me down? Because I needed to. So I asked what needs to be done. The messenger said, he said, get up and do something.
Oh,
just get up.
That's
yeah,
right.
and the weight became lighter and lighter and lighter. And this is another thing about completing the cycle. It was like you say, you go from one thing to another. What is that crazy monkey mind or something?
It's called monkey mind.
Monkey mind.
All over the place. That's
all
right.
over the place. And then I said, no, I have to complete this cycle.
That's right. That's right.
You know, I have to see some completion. No, I got that. Well, we're going to deal with that later. Let me complete this cycle. And I could not tell you what it did to my mind to complete a cycle. It's like, no, you're not doing anything else. This is what you're doing. Come on back to this, complete it, then move on. So thank you for Lukeman believers. Whew, that's all I got.
Praise be to Allah. 2 quick points. In the tech, one thing L. Ron Hubbard teaches on heavily, I'm paraphrasing, he says, but one of the roots of aberrated behavior is the inability to complete cycles of action. In other words, if we look around where we live, our environment could be a representation of a lot of cycles that have been started, but nothing that's been completed. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So every time we come into the environment, you know, we see it, but we don't see it. It could be subliminal. It could be subconscious. But when we come into the room, we look around, and if we go, that sound, that exhale is a sign that there are cycles that have been started. Some cycles have changed. Some cycles have not changed, but none of them have been completed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So part of our sanity is found in the completion of cycles. And then how do you find that in the Holy Quran? Allah does not change the condition of a people until
they change their own condition.
Okay, praise be to Allah. Let's go ahead and get this complete. Let's complete this cycle. Okay. Now, here's where we get into why we're carrying around the weight. Sister Denise, you have something else?
Oh, no, sir. I put my hand down. I want to hear this one too.
Okay, no problem. So this is called the remedy of havingness. So what he says is, he says life, it has been adequately established, can, however, create. It can create particles and it can add to mass. The demonstration of this on a man is an easily accomplished thing and is quite conclusive. He says a process known as the remedy of havingness is capable of altering the weight of a man upwards to 20 to 35 pounds, even though there's no change whatsoever in the diet of living habits of that person. In other words, the life which is in the body of the man and is actually the man can be by a certain process, increase the mass of this man. So what he's saying is, some of us are holding on to weight because of our thinking. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if she weighs other than her own self, that word weigh, as was mentioned earlier, can deal with physical weight, but to weigh something means to contemplate, to think upon, or to ponder over, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So is it possible that the weight we carry physically is a demo kit for the weight that we're carrying mentally?
Wow.
Wow. Yes.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Remember what we had said earlier. If there's weight-related illnesses, and if the weight is a result of our thinking, then what appears to be weight-related illnesses are actually thought-related illnesses, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And the thought-related illness you said was what, Sister Patricia?
Psychosomatic.
Those are the psychosomatics. Psychosomatics are thought-related illnesses. And again, for those that probably didn't hear it when we mentioned this in the beginning, if you look at the problem book and problem number 1, number 2, number 5, and number 6, and you look at those illnesses, if you go to Dianetics, page 65, you will find the same illnesses in Dianetics, book 1, page 65, that are in the problem book. Okay. Go ahead, Sister Anya.
What you just explained reminded me of a past experience. And I haven't thought it through as to how it all relates to what you just said, but I'm sure that there's some gems in there somewhere. Years ago, down in the Caribbean, I was leaving a certain island there, and it's a volcanic island. And as the plane was coming up over the water away from the island, there was a clamor of the people in the plane, and so they were saying to look out of the window because there was a volcanic eruption taking place. And so we actually witnessed the eruption, the ash spewing out and the lava flowing down the mountain. And it flowed down what they call the pyroclastic flow, and towards the sea, towards the ocean. And when it hit the water, you could see all the steam rising up. Because the heat of the lava flow and then the coolness of the water, it created that steam. But then the next thing that we witnessed is I guess the temperature of the water caused the lava to solidify. And so we saw that, but then afterwards, reading about what had happened there on that island, it actually created more land mass to the island and increased the size of the island. So it made me think about when we're under, contents under pressure, and when it overflows, and hardens, and then that liquid lava, then it hardens. It made me think about the intensity of the aberration, and when things are under pressure over and over again, the same things repeated over and over again, that hardens into increased weight. It hardens into a continued action, which if it's an aberrated action, then it's continuously creating havoc, producing the wrong,
Mhm.
it's producing something, but it's not what you want to be produced. So, and that continued creating of that which you don't desire is causing extra weight, and it's solidifying and taking on more weight. So that that experience, as you said that, it made me think of that experience.
So Sister Anya, that repeated, that action that's being repeated, could we call that re-stimulation?
Yes, sir.
So now, if we have a repeated behavior, what would you call, if we're talking about a negative behavior, what word could we use to describe that in Dianetic tech? Repeated behavior that we don't want to do.
Is that the demon circuit?
The demon circuit, on one level, we could say yes. The demon circuit is that whispering of the slinking devil, that voice that's behind the impulse that causes us to do certain things. But what we're actually doing, what word or words could we use to describe the actual action of the doingness? I'm gonna give you
That's not insanity, is it?
No, it definitely is insanity, but I'm looking for a specific type of insanity. Think of the word coins.
The word what?
Coins. C-O-I-N-S.
Neurosis?
It is a neuroses, but it's also a compulsion, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very much.
So we could say so for those that don't know what coins are, C-O-I-N-S. C is compulsion, O is obsession, I is insanity, N is neuroses, and S is psychosomatic. We know psychosomatic for the P, but we're using the S. So those coins, those things that we're suffering from, are the repeated things that have occurred over and over based on what has either been said to us or what was done to us, and we still carry that in present time, correct?
Yeah.
Y'all with me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I'm with you.
Okay. In the language of medicine or psychology, we can call that addiction or habituation, correct?
Okay.
So
Yes,
this right
sir.
here was found on the book called Dianetics 55, page number 22. That's the remedy of heaviness. The basic summary is our thinking can increase our mass. Okay, our thinking can increase our mass. Our thoughts increase our weight. Could this be why we weigh other than ourselves? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now,
You call that thinking.
we said thinking.
Thinking.
Uh-huh.
You know, that you got to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm thinking about.
Now, I want us to look at this from two different perspectives, though. Either we are carrying around the many errors of the past and present, or we are not living according to our purpose, or both.
Mm.
Because we could have weight, meaning there's something we've been brought into existence to do. There's something we're supposed to accomplish. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says, blessed is the one who finds the purpose and what? And is found doing it, correct?
Right.
And also understand that as soon as we work in the tech of Dianetic, work is tone 20. tone 2.5 is boredom, and we know idle mind is the devil's workshop, correct?
Mhm.
We can't be bored and be working at the same time. Does that make sense?
That's right.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, you know, in mathematics, you have what's called the law of the excluded middle. It's either this or that. Your daughter can't say, I'm almost pregnant. She's either pregnant or she's not pregnant, correct?
Mhm.
That's right.
So if we're at, now here's a real interesting point. If you look at the chart of the Hubbard chart of human evaluation, the one that's found in Science of Survival, boredom 2.5 is equivalent based on that chart. The arbitrary number given to that is 32. Now, boredom is the dividing line between either going up the scale towards enthusiasm or going down the scale toward aberration, correct?
Yes.
It just so happens that the number 32, if you look at it from the standpoint of Serato Sajda, which is Surah 32, with regards to prostration or prayer, prayer allows us to elevate, correct?
Yes.
But 32 is also a freezing point for us to sink.
Mhm. That's right.
So when we're bored, what should we do? We should work.
That's right.
So if we're sick, what should we do?
Work.
If we're tired, so work. Because work is tone 20. And as soon as we start working, everything begins to change around us. Does that make sense, family?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, let's see. So we are carrying around burdens that don't belong to us.
That's right.
Or our mind is like a womb. Allah has implanted an idea or ideas, and we are carrying around information without manifesting it. Meaning what?
Mm.
He's given us a talent and we've buried it.
And we buried it. That's right.
So our mind is burdened because of what we hold on to that is negative, but our mind is burdened also because of what we hold on to that is positive.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So could Allah be increasing the pressure on our mind to force us to increase the diameter of our thinking? That's the thing that
Absolutely.
Allah is trying, you know, family, when we dealt with this in the past, you know, when you take a pine cone and the pine cone falls off the tree, it hits the ground. Do you know forest fires are necessary to increase the growth of trees? Did you know that?
Mm.
Because the pine cones have a resin that is so hard that it takes the fire to burn the resin in order to allow the seed to germinate.
Wow. Okay.
Which teaches us the lesson that fire is necessary to bring the best out of us.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So if each one of us has the potential to be like a tree of knowledge, a tree of information. Each one of us has been brought into existence to contribute our purpose to civilization at this particular moment in time. And I want to add this other part to this as well. And I'm not going against what Brother Jabril says. I'm just saying I want to add another thing to think about. Now, we know that the scientists wrote the history up to the 15,000 year, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now this is just a thought. This is just to expand our perception. Is it possible, since none of us here, to my understanding, were born prior to 1914, is it possible that if they couldn't see past that 15,000 year, then is it possible that the Savior himself wrote us into the next 10,000 years of history?
Mm.
Is it possible that in his, because we're told that the Savior was going to write the last 10,000 years, right?
That's right.
So is it possible that he wrote us into this cycle of time? Just something to think about.
Mm.
Just something to think about. Because if that's the case, then how special are you?
Wow.
How special is everyone on this Zoom meeting if the Savior himself wrote us into this last cycle of history? Because then we can begin to look at ourselves
Mhm,
in a different light, correct?
mhm.
Okay. So is he forcing us to increase the circumference of our activity?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Is he forcing us to increase the sphere of our activity? Yes.
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 Okay. Now I want to touch on something real quick, and then we're going to start to land this plane. But this is a thought that came to mind as I was studying this. There was an ayat from the Holy Quran that's connected to what we're studying, but actually opened the door to another marriage between a concept that's found in Dianetics, but it's in the Holy Quran. Allah does say that he has given us a book explaining all things, correct?
Yes.
So that would have to include the text of Dianetics, correct?
Hmm.
Because if he says, I've given you a book explaining all things except Dianetics, then that contradicts that statement, right? It couldn't
That's
be.
right.
So the text of Dianetics has to be in the Holy Quran. And did you know that L. Ron Hubbard did study the Holy Quran? That was one of the books that he
Yes,
studied. Okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
There's an ayat in the Holy Quran that says this: those who avoid the great sins and the indecency, but the passing idea, surely thy Lord is liberal and forgiving. He knows you best when he brings you forth from the earth and when you are embryos in the wombs of your mothers. So ascribe not purity to yourselves. He knows him best who guards against evil. Well, is this telling us that Allah knew us before we were even born?
Had to. Yes.
Something to think about, right?
Yes.
Okay. But now, if you read the footnote to this ayat, it talks about how if you have a negative thought that comes and it's just a passing idea, it doesn't leave an imprint. That man is not held accountable for that thought. So the thought can come and the thought can go, right? Because all of us have crazy thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But it's the thought that stays and begins to germinate that begins to formulate, and then we find a way, and it's called deceptive intelligence, to make evil fair seeming, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, when you look at the word passing idea in Arabic, the Arabic word is lama. Lama. Okay. The word lama means a slight mental derangement. Okay? Slight mental derangement. It means to touch on something briefly. Just a passing idea. You hit it and you let it go, right? It means to overcome fatigue. And it means, well, what process is in the text that deals with slight mental derangements where you touch on something briefly and allows you to overcome fatigue and gain some energy? What is that process called in Dianetics? Come on, somebody.
Is it the purif?
Not the purif. I mean, we're talking about touching on a passing idea. We're touching on maybe a sin.
Lock scanning?
Lock scanning.
Oh, okay.
You're touching on it brief, but could we also say straight wire? Because we're touching on what took place, but we're not touching on it long enough for it to re-stimulate, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So if we're scanning it, then isn't that the same as a passing idea?
Yes.
So here we have in Surah 53, ayat 32, and the reason, one of the reasons why, I mean, of course, the ayat popped in my head, but the interesting thing was, what I just read from the remedy of happiness was actually on page 23, which is 32 in reverse. But that's just, yeah, you know, I like to play with numbers. But this ayah reminded me of lock scanning. You're touching on things from the past. You know, it's like going down the list of self-analysis. Remember a time when, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're touching on it. Overcoming fatigue, right? So you're gaining some energy. Why? Because you're grabbing and you're gaining back those attention units, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so that was just something that came to mind. Straight wire or lobster.
Wow.
Okay, the passing idea. It's in the Holy Quran. Here's where we land the plane. This is now I think it was Sister Denise and I think Sister Anya mentioned something in regards to repetition. Okay, repetition. Now, here's why this is so important. If there's a process that or a mental state that increases our weight, then there should be a process in order to alleviate the weight, correct?
That's right.
We can't just go on one and not give the count, right?
Right.
Okay. What is perfect duplication? L. Ron Hubbard says on the same page 23, another process known as perfect duplication can reverse this. And again, without change of diet and living habits of a man, decrease the amount of mass of a man without the complications of heat or waste products being present. So he's saying that the weight that the life force creates that places pressure or weight on the mind of an individual, if we follow the process of perfect duplication, we can reverse the weight and become lighter. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now what is duplication? It's the action or reproducing of something exactly, which means either repeating the exact same cycle again or duplicating it at receipt point, what was started at source point. Meaning it's a process of taking something that was received from a source and repeating it over and over and over again. Where do we find that in the teachings? We'll go a little further.
In
Go ahead.
the messenger's books.
How so?
I mean, you know,
Learning the lessons by heart.
Learning the lessons by heart. Yes, ma'am. Learning the lessons by heart. Okay. So duplicate processing is a class of processes which are used to establish communication and improve a pre-clear's ability to duplicate. Many of these processes consist of the pre-clear mimicking the auditor or performing the same action over and over again. So as we're memorizing our lessons and we're duplicating it, who is the auditor?
Master Fard Muhammad.
We could say Master Fard Muhammad is the auditor. Could we say that the Most High Elijah Muhammad is the auditor?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. If we're striving to close the gap, and if we're reading Closing the Gap, could we say that closing the gap is like a type of processing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As we study our lessons, aren't we establishing ARC with those three?
Yes, a complete circle. That's
Aren't we
right.
establishing affinity, reality, and communication?
Yes. Yes.
As we study our lessons and we don't have these mental blockages anymore, doesn't that have the ability to improve our ability or our character?
Yes.
Yes.
Who are we supposed to be duplicating?
God himself.
Huh?
Yes. We're duplicating aren't we duplicating Master Fard Muhammad?
How?
We're duplicating God himself by becoming one with his mind, making our mind one with his mind, emptying our mind of all of the impurities and the things that we have in it and filling it with that he has given us.
But
so
if
that we
we've
can
never
walk
met
that
Master
same
Fard
path.
Muhammad, how are we duplicating him?
We're doing it through the Honorable Minister Farrakhan.
There we go. That's why he's the door, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So
Process of becoming God.
so we're duplicating. So by
all this-
following the example of the minister, that is like duplicate processing.
Yes.
Yes.
So the
Oh.
minister said that when he is not present, we are to maintain contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, that means to establish communication or a comm line, meaning when you deal with communication, you have what's called source point, you have distance, and you have receipt point, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Now, that could mean, on one level, to maintain studying what he has blessed us to receive in his absence, correct?
That's right.
Yes.
But is it possible that it could also mean that the more we maintain a certain level of righteous conduct, that he will in fact be able to maintain contact with us, even though he is not present? Just something to think about.
Absolutely.
Something to think about. Okay.
Brother Levi,
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't offend because we don't know. Like I was reading in the beginning of the study guides talked about, Sister Ava was saying, we don't know what was written on him.
Right.
All she knew that when they took, when she was writing down what he was saying, that they said. He said it didn't need editing. It was as if he was looking at a book.
Yes.
That she said, and just writing it down like as you would read it. So we don't know. You were talking about, we don't know that process, and then he had to put it in form of some guides, some study guides, and each study brings about a certain transformation when we use practical application as well as study. He was saying, and it's like therapeutic. One thing is happening, but another thing is happening too, because we see him, but we don't know what it took for him to get to that process where nothing bothers him. You know, that was one thing that blew me away. Nothing bothers you, man. But it's a process to get to. So that's what I was thinking about as you were saying about, in the beginning it was you and Allah in the womb. He said, I was with you. I said, whoa, you've been with me that long? You know, I was with you in the womb of your mother. So I know what's in you. You know not. I'm gonna bring it out. Gonna be some force now, but I'm gonna bring it out of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And you also have a perfect body. You know how when you looking good and you know you looking good because you worked out and worked off the weight and stuff, and you can wear all your clothes now. Yes, sir. That's what I was thinking about. I'm done.
Thank you.
Praise be to him. Thank you, sir.
Let's throw this question out there. Would the minister give us any instructions that were counter to what he was given by the Most High Elijah Muhammad? Meaning, would he direct us to something that was in opposition to what the Most High Elijah Muhammad instructed him to do?
No, sir.
No.
Okay. So when the minister, and then I'm gonna throw another point out here. Is it possible that what was written in him, one of the things possibly, again, I'm just making speculation, something for us to think about. Is it possible that part of what was given to him was to direct us at the proper time to study the text?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying that's possible.
Yes, sir.
Now, if the Most High Elijah Muhammad did not want us to study anything outside the teachings, would the minister instruct us to study anything outside?
Absolutely
No, he would
not.
not.
Therefore, through deductive reasoning, if the minister is directed by the Most High Elijah Muhammad, and I don't say was, I say is, and he would not give us anything in opposition to the Most High Elijah Muhammad, then if he told us to study the text, where did that instruction come from?
Muhammad.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's right.
Now we can take it a step further. Would the Most High Elijah Muhammad instruct us to do anything that was counter to what the Savior determined?
Absolutely not.
So if the minister wanted us to get on the study text, then what is the source point of that combine?
Master Fard Muhammad.
Okay, I just want to put that out there for all the naysayers.
Hmm.
Not on this Zoom meeting, but those that might, later on. So now, where do we have perfect duplication in our teaching? This is where we wrap it up. When we wrote our letter, that was the first time we had to duplicate, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Okay, we had to
Wow.
that was a perfect duplication. Now, I'm sure our letter wasn't perfect, but it was perfect enough to be accepted, correct?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
If you look in our lesson that says each student should copy the answers of lesson of Minister Elijah Muhammad and study until the student is able to memorize by heart all answers to of said lesson number 1. Isn't that perfect duplication?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Memorize by heart, we have to know every part of that, right?
That's right.
Okay. So could we say perfect duplication is the same as aligning our mind with his mind?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So if we duplicate our example, which is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, then we are also duplicating the two that back him, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, summary. This is where we ended. We are carrying around extra weight for 2 basic reasons. Number 1, we are carrying around the mental burdens based on events on our time track that can be alleviated through Dianetic processing and the perfect duplication of the examples that we have been given. We are carrying around the gifts, the jewels, the talents or ideas that Allah has deposited in each of us that we have yet to bring into reality. Allah is increasing the pressure on our mind not to destroy us, but to force us to increase the surface area or sphere of our thinking. Can we all agree to those 3 points?
Yes, sir.
All right. And there you have it. Any thoughts, any comments, any final questions?
I have a
Cognitions? Go ahead,
I have-
Sister Jamila.
So when we were talking about the Dianetics, and when we were talking about Master Fard Muhammad, he came to mind for me as the duplicate because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan are the duplicates.
Yes.
I remember the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, empty your mind or empty yourself so that I can fill you with me. So I think about when he went to the mother plane and he said a scroll dropped before him and he started to try to read it. But as he was reading it, it disappeared. And it was like it had already been printed on his mind. So when he came back, one of the things is that he really doesn't have to study because everything that he is supposed to say is already written. And he's literally speaking what has been written in his mind. So when we are in this same process, because he is showing us the way. He said, pick up your cross and follow me. I'm showing you the path to get to where it is that I've gone. So we're not guessing at this. We have to look at him and do as he did to be able to get to where he is, which means we have to empty these vessels so that we can be filled with him. And so through the Dianetic process, he said, when he first engaged with that tool, he said, this was something I knew I had to give to you. So he brought it to us for the purpose of helping us to clear our process, clear this mind so that it can be filled with what it is that he needed to put into us. So we are following a process to get in line on the right path. And that's a part of our prayer. We pray for this, to be on the right path, to walk that path, to line us up with him through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Master Fard Muhammad, so that we can ultimately be used as vessels for the evolution, for the change of this world.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
ever evolving, and we're a part of that process. So yes, we must do what you said. When we have ideas, talents, thoughts, gifts that are given to us, we must put them out there. And we must utilize those tools, because those tools are essential to the changing of this world. And he already knew that.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. There's the process. You said we have to empty our mind. Could we not say that Dianetics is a part of that process of emptying our mind?
Absolutely. That is exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
Unlocking those
Amen.
chains. Yes.
So
Yes.
I'll
Rust,
make,
rust locks. The locks are rusty.
yeah,
Yes.
the locks are rusty.
Got to put all
Been there for a long time.
Mhm.
lubricated, do all that stuff.
Now,
Oh, Lord.
real quickly, I see area code 513. Who's area code 513?
I'm an area code 513.
Nope, but I see you. I see, but there's another
Okay.
phone on here that's area code 513. Area code 513, can you hear us? 706-0836. Who is that? Speak now or forever hold your peace. We'd like to hear from you.
I think that may be Sister Peggy. She put a note.
Oh, that's
in
right. Okay.
Chat.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Anya.
Yes, sir.
I have I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Mishan, you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
What was the question?
Oh no, I was just trying to. I'm not familiar with the name, so I'm just trying to get the correct pronunciation of your name and give you the greetings.
Oh, yes, sir. My name is Sister Mashan.
Sister Mishan, okay.
Yes, sir.
Is this your first time with us?
This is my second time.
Second time. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm gonna make this last statement to kind of summarize everything that we just spoke of. I'm gonna do it in less than 5 minutes because it's time for us to shut this down. This is for all of us, but specifically because I don't think Sister Mashan has ever heard this before. Now, one of my favorite parts of Our Savior Has Arrived. Some of you might be saying, brother, you mention this all the time. I'm gonna keep mentioning this. Page 81 to page 83. Our Savior Has Arrived. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that there's a 20-year period where our mind will be made clean. We're going to go through a process, and the way he describes it as, from the way I perceive it, is the removal of the brown germ, which in my mind, I'm starting to think that the brown germ might be the reactive mind. Something to think about. Now, if this is a 20-year period where our mind will be made clean and we'll get to a point where we will be unable to sin. If you look at this from the standpoint of the tech, our sins are not based on the fact that we're bad people. Our sins are the dramatizations based on the valences on our time track, correct?
Yes, sir.
So our sins don't belong to us. Our sins, based on those 4 flows, are either things that were done to us or things that we witnessed. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, he says that 20-year period is a process where our mind will be made clean. He says that the 20-year period begins 1,380 years after the death of the prophet and will last up until 1,400 years after the death of the prophet. Simple mathematics teaches us if the prophet passed away in 632 AD, and the process which the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad uses the word judgment begins 1,380 years after the death of the prophet, that by mathematical deduction, the 20-year period begins in the year 2012. What is the significance of 2012? The tech was introduced to the laborers in 2010. And if you go back and read the old Final Call newspapers, there's 2 specific articles you're going to find. One it's going to say that the minister introduced the text to the laborers in 2010, but opened it up to the larger body 2 years later, which would be what year?
2012.
2012. Then there's another article that shows that it was introduced to the nation as a whole. I believe it said Mas Mariam in 2012. Is it a coincidence that the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that we'd be in a 20-year period of mind cleaning aligns with our introduction to the tech of Dianetics? First thing to think about. Second point.
Yeah.
Mother Tanetta Muhammad said that during that 20-year period, we'll be taught into the peaceful application of the atom, correct? Dianetics, the peaceful application of the atom.
Oh, the atom. Okay.
The atom. Now, Dianetics, just like our wisdom is based on astronomy, right? The root of the Supreme Wisdom lessons is astronomy, yes?
Yes.
The root of Dianetics is nuclear physics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
nuclear physics. So, just a thought. It's just the way my brain thinks. If we're going to be in a classroom and we're going to be learning a process of how the mind is to be made clean, and at the root of the teachings of Dianetics is nuclear physics, as well as the ancient wisdom of what he says is the Asiatics, which is who? That's us, ain't it?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right. Yes.
Is it possible that that classroom could be when we're on course? Just a thought. Just a thought. Because we don't know who's teaching us when we're at.
That's right.
We don't know who they are. If you go to page I think 82 or 83, the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that. Matter of fact, let me read it so we have the exact statement that was made, and then we'll close this up. Let's deal with the statement.
Our Savior has arrived.
So our Savior has
This is
arrived.
Okay.
Our Savior has arrived.
Who said that they had a 513 number?
Sister Peggy.
It might be Sister Peggy. Might be Sister Peggy.
No, somebody else said that they had a 513 number.
Oh, Sister Janetta.
What city are you in?
Cincinnati.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what the Most High Elijah Muhammad says. He says this. He says, let's see. It is page. It will be page. Here we go. Page 83. He says. He says, the only white people who have a name that is any good are ones who have these names of Allah God. He says, a lot of white people go in the names of Allah, but there are a lot of white believers in Islam. I have met many of them, and they are sincere in their faith. There will be quite a few thousand in America. When the time comes, you will learn of them, but you will not learn of them at the present time. Now, I'm not saying I know who they are. I'm just saying, what if? And the last point is this, and we spoke about this last week with the reverse engineering of making devil. When Alfonso went into the Caucasus Mountains, and this is based on what the minister has said, and was there a process that he used to purify Babaji, the mother of Master Muhammad? Is there a process he used to purify her, to prepare her womb to give birth to the Savior? Yes. And if that was a process, is that process the root of the tech that has been given to us in the modern time? Just something to think about. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
So the tech is not foreign to us, in other words. We have used the tech to remove the inclination in the past. L. Ron Hubbard bears witness. He says the root of this teaching comes from the Asiatics. So he's letting us know. So when the minister says this belongs to us, the minister
right.
1,000% correct, and L. Ron Hubbard bears witness to that. Okay? So I would just like to, if I could, if area code 513, if that is not Sister Peggy, then who is it? Area code 513, could you at least give us some greetings or show us some love or something? Because I hate removing people, even though you've been here the whole time and you haven't said anything, and you might mean well. You just want to sit and listen and not say anything. Okay, that's not a problem. But next time, see area code 513, you got to announce yourself. I'm just going to remove you from the meeting. Okay. And I see the wheel has come by as we're ready to remove. So Sister Angela,
Hey,
Sister Angela, you missed.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam. I think you missed a good one today, Sister Angela.
I'm gonna go watch it on YouTube. I figured you all was still on. I was doing the session actually.
Okay.
I just
Okay.
finished.
So I'm gonna put this on. It's hopefully within the next 30 minutes. So I just want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge, who did I not acknowledge? Sister Charlotte. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Charlotte.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
I am well, thank you.
There was a comm lag there. There was a comm lag. I heard a comm lag. You know what the comm lag is, right?
I understand, and you are very perceptive, but now is not the time.
No, I wouldn't go into it now.
This has been one of the better ones. I've been in and out.
Okay.
This has been a good one.
Praise
Thank
be
you.
to Allah.
yes, it has.
I'm gonna show you how wonderful Allah is. I was rushing this morning about 2 hours, at about 8 o'clock to put this all together because I was at the org all day yesterday. So I'm through the roof right now with case gain and what one of the Scientologists clears. I had a misunderstood and wasn't even aware of it, and it shot my brain through the roof. So I'm on a different level right now with the tech because this one little correction, I was like, man, how did I not see that? So anyway, Sister Vinci, I see your hand is up, and then we'll answer one more and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, sister.
I wanted to know if I could, there was something that Allah allowed me to write this morning to an individual. And I wanted to know if I could have permission to read it to you all.
Oh, of course. Yes, ma'am. You might clear all of us just in an instant. Go ahead.
Okay, let me pull it up. I won't call the individual's name, but I will read it to you all. It said peace.
Okay, so we're not dealing with any personal information, right?
Sir?
We're not dealing with nothing personal. It's just something that you wrote.
Yes, it's nothing.
Okay.
Okay. So it says peace. Have you prayed, commune with our Lord and Savior this morning? And then the person's name, and then it says, this is my love letter to you. Can I love you more than you love yourself? I would like to say no, but for now, yes. When I strived not to abuse myself is when I chose to love you. When I strive to care for my lungs is when I chose to love you. When I say my prayers and commune with our Lord and Savior is when I choose to love you. When you choose not to walk in the light is when I feel I'm losing you. So it says from love, not to offend your mind, but to love your heart.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, brother, for allowing me to do that.
Thank you for sharing.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you know how they in this at one point there were points that you said you hit on to share whole things and to share and how we have been either holding things and not allowing the light to shine forward, right? And not saying things. And so now we're weighing improperly, right? So that was the instance of, at this end of this deliberation, I felt that I should share. It was meant for her, but then Allah had me through by way of my sister, Sister Ania, our sister, to come on board. And so it has to do with love, and we all have lungs, right?
Mhm.
And we're striving to go into the light or be the light of Allah. And so that's the way it flowed. And so I thought Allah would allow me to share that so I can start wearing properly.
Yeah, right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother and sisters.
Thank you. Walaikum salam. I am posting my email so that anyone who wants to get placed on our email list, just send me an email. Also, this was on my mind this morning. So I know there have been times when individuals have asked for certain things, and I said I would get the information to you, and then I get caught up in doing so many other things I forget. So if there's anything, because I want to make sure my word is bond. So I think Sister Patricia, you sent a message because I think you said you want the PowerPoint. Was it you, Sister Patricia?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you want to copy the PowerPoint, put your email in the chat. If you don't get the PowerPoint, I say within a couple of days or so, send me an email just to remind me, because I want to make sure my word is bond. I don't mind sending you the PowerPoint. That way you have all the same notes, you have all the page references, you have all the same information for your own study. What else was there? Go ahead, Sister Angela. I see your hand up.
Yes, sir. I just had a question, and I'm gonna watch it as soon as you post it. Did you all get into the identifying the ability to identify when we are not ourselves? Let's put it that way, because the variables are too great. We can be restimulated, keyed in, aberrated, whatever the case may be. Did we cover, because I know we're talking about weight and hopefully making that connection between, like you said, the fasting and eating once a day, once every other day, and there's still no weight being lost, which would go to the cortisol and the stress. And one thing to help alleviate stress is noticing that we are stressed. So I wanted to know, was that delved into?
The way just to sum it really quick, the way we addressed it is we started with page 1 of our Supreme Wisdom, lay pressure on our mind of our many errors of the past and present, how what we've done in the past lays pressure on our mind. And then there's something that I found in Dianetics 55, where L. Ron Hubbard states that the theta, or the life force, has the ability to increase mass and to decrease mass. In other words, based on our aberrations, it actually will increase the heaviness of our thinking, which will produce a heaviness of our physical body. And part of the reason why we can't lose weight physically is because we're not getting rid of it mentally. That's the route.
I think the connection to.
Yeah, but what you said is connected, because
it is.
Because the cortisol, the ACTH, and all those stress hormones, that's being produced by our thinking, and those chemicals, that chemistry does have weight.
Right.
So no,
that's the expansion too. Exactly. So I see that under the expansion also.
It's all connected. And last but not least, for Sister Vinci, let me just show her this so she is aware.
Brother Lukman, while you're looking for that, may I say something?
Of course.
In my opinion, when we do not give love, when we do not share love, that can inhibit or make us, it takes, as they say, because we were I'm speculating, but we were created out of love. We're people who love, who share. I mean, the creator, that's what he did. He came from nothingness and he gave us life, and it has evolved.
Mm-hmm.
And love, it talks about love conquers all. How
Mm-hmm.
do you love? How do you bring a baby into the world and others see it as, oh, and the mama just sees this is a beautiful baby. The entity is just, there's that automatic love sensation that goes on. And we are a people that the messenger said, we don't have, as they say, when at certain times come, we only have the capacity, we could possibly kill 4. That's why kill of the others. That's why the other people would have to be brought in, because we really are shaped in love, right? And so when you don't give it, and when you are, and it's blocked, it's like a dam that has been blocked, and the water can't get through, right?
That's
Love,
the
God,
static
love
pressure.
has to express itself. Love is in the music. Love is in everything. You know, when you touch, that's why there's something in that magnificent, those when you touch an individual and you hug and you caress, that's of you are spreading atoms of love, right? And so we're not about the love. Like when you go in the kitchen and cook and you love your family, you want this meal to be exponentially just because it's out of love. When that is blocked, then you have set up something, or not you, but something has been set up that is contrary to love, right? And it affects the ability to that flow. It's gotta flow. Love has to flow. Love has to it just evolves until it sees itself being reproduced in others, and the joy that comes out of love. When you're out there watching the children play and you take part in it, or you sit and listening to music that is just, it just takes you into a zone. It takes you out of your body, and you just, because you love it, right? So there's something in the expression of love that if it does not express itself, then you have a problem. That's all I wanted to say.
Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Thank you. That is definite. That goes back to that static pressure we were talking about. Pressure that's being held. In the tech, we call that a mass. An energy that's held at a certain location is actually called the engram. So thank you, Sister Vincent. And Sister Niambi. I hadn't said that name in a while. Assalamu alaikum. Mute, can you hear us? Maybe she's away from her computer. Okay, so last but not least, let me just share this with those who may not be aware. If you would like to access the classes from the past, you can find us at Supreme Wisdom Meets Supreme Technology. This is the YouTube channel. And as you can see, we are up to 100 videos. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And these are, so this is today. This is why we can't lose weight. What that's
fitting.
That was the cover page for that one. So that's just, I'm gonna put, that was just to kind of to let people know that are on the YouTube channel that we're meeting today. But here's a listing of all the subjects that we have covered over the past 3 years. So if you're interested, you want to learn more, you can find us there. By Allah's grace and mercy, due to everyone's participation, we are currently at almost 9,300 views. So
Praise be to Allah.
Praise be to Allah. The word is going forth. Hopefully all those translates to brothers and sisters getting back on the tech and learning the tech. So I want to thank the believers for everything that you do as far as contributions and thoughts and cognitions. I get great case gain listening to what Allah has blessed you to share with us. Go ahead, Sister Ani. I see your hand up. We'll let you have the last word.
Okay, assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Salam.
Walaikum salam.
Just want to say a word of appreciation for all of these beautiful classes that you have spearheaded for us, and that we get so much out of, so much case gain, as you say.
Yes.
And I forget the brother's name, but he would come on Brother Batin's classes. May Allah be pleased with Brother Batin. And then he would come on to this platform as well and remind us of showing our appreciation for the facilitator of these classes by putting a little donation on their, what's the platform?
That was Brother Jason.
Brother Jason, but what's the platform? Forgot the name of the app that we could use to make a little donation. Cash App. So if you would, Brother Lukman, put your Cash App in the chat for us, so that those who are are able to could send a little donation as a way of appreciation.
Praise due to Allah.
Not that you need it. We know that you don't necessarily need it, but it's our way of just saying appreciation and to put towards, whatever costs is associated with the administration.
It's because I'm actually in the process of, I'll put my number in. I'm actually in the process of working on a website, a whole curriculum. I'm hoping to get a newsletter up and running. And I think I mentioned this to the believers before. I'm in the process of doing some study guides that will run congruent with the extension course. Like if you go through Dianetics Book 1 extension course, I'm working on some study guides that as you go through the extension course, that will correspond to certain aspects of my lessons and ayats in the Holy Quran. So you're getting the tech, but you're getting Islam, you're getting the supreme wisdom and the supreme tech at the same time.
Praise be to Allah.
But
yes, sir.
I'm hoping to have everything done by the time I retire, which my retirement is 1 year, 6 months, 7 days.
2 hours, 3 minutes, 20 seconds.
I'm really looking forward to it. And my goal is to, there's my email address. My goal is to continue to work for myself when I am done.
Praise be to Allah.
I strive to work under the advice of the minister. He says, do no good. Do no good for gain. So I'm thankful and I'm appreciative. If Allah finds it in your heart to do so, that's how you can kind of reach me through Cash App. But when I hear the case gain and I hear the voice and I hear the case gain in your voices, that's what inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing. And I also receive emails from individuals, because needless to say, there are times when I say to myself, I'm probably gonna limit what I'm doing. And by Allah's grace, I'll get an email. And that's a sign to keep going. Because sometimes we, as we're speaking about gifts, the message is going out to all of you, but it's a double-edged sword. And I need to hear this for me, because sometimes I feel like, we all have our aberrations, right? You know,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm not clear yet. So I still have the whispering of the slinking devil who whispers in my ear as well. You know, so
Yes, sir.
sometimes those doubts and those things come up in my mind, and then I got to keep doing the work to keep working through it. But thank you, Sister Anya. Thank you to the believers. Without you, we wouldn't be at past 9,000 views. There's some other things I pray aloud to have up and running within the next couple months. I want to see us all get to a point where we're gaining a certain level of mastery. We have to prepare for the minister's departure.
Yes.
That's
yes,
that's
yes.
number one.
Number one.
We know from the past that when the Most High Elijah Muhammad departed, not died, when he departed, our history teaches us many, if not all of us, were found in mental institutions, correct?
That's right. That's right.
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm a firm believer we might re-experience something along those same lines. The only difference is the minister has pointed us in the direction of a tech that when because none of us are above that happening, we can reach out and assist one another in processing and straight wire and lock scanning so that when the minister returns, we are still present and we are found doing the work of maintaining the sanity in the minds of the believers, number one.
Yes.
But doing the work of restoring sanity on all four dynamics.
Yes.
When he comes back, he finds that we took those talents and we doubled them and increased them exponentially.
Praise be to Allah.
Brother Lukman,
Yes, ma'am.
did you get a chance to watch Preparing for the Departure of Minister Farrakhan on YouTube?
No, I forgot about that.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's the title of it?
Yes, sir. Preparing for the Departure of Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Okay. Okay.
And it's the people that are interviewed are believers that was there when the messenger departed. And they talking about the things that they went through and you know, because now we can really look at things now. So yes, I found it very, very interesting.
Okay.
It was touching.
So Sister Denise,
powerful.
Yes, beloved.
That's our assignment. Everyone
that's our
watch
assignment.
that.
Yeah.
Watch that. If do you have more you want to share with us?
No, it was more than just people were losing their mind. They were out of time, meaning they went back in time. They went back to
they sure did.
Clean up, you know, the vomit that they had got out of. They picked it back up. I mean, it was just listening to it. It's like, so what are we gonna do?
There's a whole lot of Dianetics in that.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So, God willing, inshallah, the assignment is to watch that, but we're going to watch, but the next time we come together, God willing, we're going to discuss that through the lens of the tech.
Okay.
And see how
That'd be good.
connect the two. So thank you, Sister, for that. I'm going to jump on that immediately. And I know Sister Anya is going to have the last word, but I'll let the sister from the wheel have the last comment.
That's too much. All right. Let them know you're piloting the wheel. Praise be to Allah. You know, I had an opportunity to sit down with some sisters that were at the so-called funeral or janazah of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I also had the opportunity to sit down with people that were in the nation when Malcolm X was in, that went to the mosque when Betty Shabazz would come out. Not that she was, you know, not that she joined, she was basically like a third party reference. And then I married it to what the minister said on one of his lectures when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed. He said the headpieces came off, the dresses got shorter, and he went to somebody's birthday party and the sister was on the floor. Come on, man. I've been wanting to get you up dancing. And this is for me, this kind of solidifies this circle. It's like the circle of life in regards to the mercy of auditing. The mercy of auditing for me is why I asked this question, because in my prayer lately, I constantly ask Allah to help me see him in everything. That means get beyond Sister Angela and lean into my own understanding, because that limits my perception. Now that's the mercy in auditing, that my past can cause me to do X, Y, and Z. The other part of it is our righteousness will sustain us. See, this is a spiritual walk as well as it a mental walk. And depending on where I'm at, when I'm alone with my devils or whoever it is, that is going to come out. So if I'm Sister Angela that don't like to wear a headpiece and my long white or my long blue or my long beige, that could just be the catalyst or excuse for me to put back on the short stuff and live the way I long for, so I don't feel so restricted by the law of restricted law, and become what the Sister Vinci, I believe her name is, said, we supposed to graduate from feeling restricted by restrictive law into the love of the law, because we see how Allah is protecting us in it.
Mm-hmm.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. All right, family. I think, that's 3 hours. Jeez. Okay, let me put this here.
Time certainly flies when you're having fun, huh?
I'm telling you.
When you're learning.
Okay, that is that. For those that need it. And that being said and done, our assignment, watch that, and I'm going to do my best to formulate a Zoom meeting around that video so we can kind of study the past, look at the diagnosis, and look at how we can treat the same sicknesses if and when they come up again, I guess you can say, correct?
Yes.
We want to be prepared. Because I know I don't know about you, but after all the hell I've gone through, I'd be damned if I would get up to this point and then fall back now. I mean, we're too doggone close, correct?
That's right. That's right. We at the finish line. Let's get across.
Let's just gonna make it. The minister said, get us safely across, and he would not say,
That's
look
right.
what I've done. He said, look what Allah has done. So
that's right.
So family, thank you for your words of wisdom, for sharing what Allah has blessed you to receive with the rest of us. I know I got some case gain. I pray that you have. And I hope and pray to see everyone on Sunday night, the 5th, inshallah. With that being said and done, let us go ahead and close out. Sister Angela, if you would give us the honor, please.
Yes, sir. Let us pray. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, and I seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness, and I seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness, and I seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, suffice thou with me what is lawful, to keep me away from what is prohibited, and with thy grace make me free of one of what is besides thee. Amen.
Ameen.
Ameen.
Assalamualaikum, family.
Walaikum salam. 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes, Brother Luke.
I'm gonna download it and do
I'll
it.
give you a couple hours. I got a show anyway, so I just check
Yes,
back
ma'am.
and forth. Okay, yes. Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam, family.